Hello, winners, and welcome for Two for the Win with your hosts, Nick and Will. Have you ever wondered how to cultivate persistence and resilience, especially if you're doing a variety of different roles? Well, if so, you are going to love today's guest. Some of our winners will remember this person who crossed paths previously, but really excited to introduce, and I'll pass it over to my co-host in just a minute to introduce today's guest. But first, please be sure to subscribe, share, and follow Two for the Win on your favorite platform. I want to give a shout out to nickmenard.com and the 1% Push for sponsoring today's episode. But without further ado, let me pass it over to my co-host Nick to introduce our special guest today.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Will. Well, that's my pleasure also to have Amie here with us. I remember we met 7 years ago, back in the days, and you made an amazing impression to me and to Will as well. And we are very excited to have you today, so can you explain a little bit more about your journey since we crossed paths and everything like that. But I want to give you the ball first to introduce yourself best, and then we can go from there.
Amazing. Hey, so good to see you both. So my name is Amie Weizer. I'm a RevOps practitioner, and I am a learner first. That's something that is heart to what I do, core to what I do, how I lead my teams, how I support my teams. Second, I am a leader, ensuring that I set the right example and always do best by those around me. And finally, an optimist. You will absolutely always see me as the half full person. I really like to encourage those around me, support those around me. So that's the highest level. Who am I?
Awesome. No, that's fantastic. And, when our paths had crossed, you weren't a leader at that time. You're an individual contributor, but you were very innovative. I mean, you had some great ideas that we implemented and really helped drive efficiency and effectiveness. But maybe for some of our listeners who remember you, and even those who don't know you, maybe what else have you been up to since you moved from the sunny skies of Florida to the beautiful scenery of Colorado?
Yes. Colorado. Yeah, I'm in Rhino now outside of Denver. Absolutely love it here and all of the beautiful things I get to experience outside on a daily basis. I was just mentioning the springtime is here, which is awesome and a phenomenal way to see perspective. And that's what our topic is today, of course, getting into talking about resilience and perseverance. So I'll tune into how nature helps me see things that way.
Mhm.
Before I got here to Denver, I was living in Fort Myers, Florida, and that was the first move that I had ever made out of my small hometown in Ohio. So it was a really big deal for me to go work for this big company, have this big job, and go see what life was all about in a different state and leave my so-called nest, as they say. So when I was working in my past experience in Florida, I was a customer success manager, and I absolutely loved customer success. I still love and breathe customer success because it's the core of what every person can do for an organization is support their customers. What I did realize, just like you're saying there, Will, is that I love processes and I love being able to have an influence and an impact on the people around me. So I moved to an organization here in Denver where I had the opportunity to impact a customer success team. I came on as customer success manager #1 in the Americas, and I grew that team from 1 to 8. Had so much fun along the way, spinning up an onboarding process, spinning up a renewal process. You guys have hammered it into me. What's happening in the last 120 days? What's happening in the first 90? All those core customer success fundamentals I use to build my own team and build my own customer success org. Once I was really successful with building out customer success, going from reactive to proactive, we said at the organization, you could have a way bigger impact than just customer success. There's so many more areas of the business you could impact in the revenue life cycle. So I took on a role that was called operational excellence. And operational excellence eventually transformed into this big wide world of revenue operations, which is really looking and seeing how can we do things to our point of Nick's 1% better every single day. How can we figure out how everybody can be better at what they're doing because we share knowledge, we collaborate, and we're on a team. We're doing stuff together, blocking and tackling every single day. So that's the thing I do now, a RevOps practitioner supporting organizations who are maybe going from, less than 10 million ARR to 50 million ARR, or they're at that scaling phase where they're saying, I'm at 100 million. I want want to make this more scalable, enter new markets, go into different territories. That's what revenue operations helps organizations to succeed with.
Oh, that's fantastic and sounds fascinating. But I'm curious. So you mentioned, today's topic around resilience and persistence. So when you made that transition from individual contributor to leader, like maybe what was one of the first examples you could share that really helped cultivate your persistence and resilience?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I had to learn those things. Yeah. So, being the customer success manager myself, and then realizing I couldn't handle 500 clients on my own, I was like, oh, there has to be a better way. So, I was speaking with my mentor at the time who just said, Amie, you know how to maximize or multiply your impact? Grow a team. And I'm like, oh, I don't want to be a leader. There's so many bad leaders who I've seen previously. I hadn't had enough good leaders yet at that moment in my life. So when I heard that, I really had to take that to heart and understand what it meant to build a team and how to think about skill sets that I would want on my team. So before I even got to handling some challenges as a leader, I'll first say how I found the team to actually lead. For me, I was very lucky to be able to handle the whole hiring process on my own and figure out exactly what I was looking for. The number one thing that I was looking for truly was the growth mindset, because change was constant as you're scaling from 10 million and beyond. You have to figure out, hey, what was working last week isn't going to work when we onboard 5 more clients. So figuring out how all of that looked, the biggest lesson for me after bringing on these people who were really open to change, really excited to get their hands dirty and figure it out with me was I can't actually shield them from everything that I want to. I have to be willing to expose the guts. I have to be willing to say, what should we do? I'm not sure. I need some ideas, guys. We need to figure it out together. So, kind of my leadership style was allowing them to see that they could have an impact as well. And we could all brainstorm on good ideas. We could all figure it out together. But then we make a commitment to what we want to do and we go through that together. So what if we fail along the way? We're learning along the way. That's what this is about, and we're doing it together. So once I realized I don't need to shield them from things, but rather expose them to everything, then it became so much easier for me as a leader to delegate and figure out how to spend time on what mattered.
That's fantastic. I love that, Amie. And I remember you were not a leader on paper, but you were always like a natural leader of your team back in the day. So that was probably an easier transition for you. But could you share to our audience and our winners, what's if someone is, individual contributor currently and would love to go to the next step, next level? What are the 2 things that you would say would be very important to start, and maybe the one experience that you had or that you saw from some of your peers to absolutely not do that maybe is something that most people think it's the right thing to do to become a leader? So I hope it's not too challenging as a question because we don't prepare the interviews, but I would love to hear from someone who were very successful as an individual contributor, being even more successful as a leader. Those 2 things would interest me to know.
Yeah, that's a really good onion question. Wow, you're giving me multiple layers here, and you're putting it down to 2 levels. So let's see.
See
The
that?
the the 2 things that I would be thinking about transitioning from individual contributor into a leader role is understanding communication and understanding people. The first time that I started to learn about communication and learn about people was when I tried to run my own project as an individual contributor. And that's where I was actually really learning a lot and exposed to a lot of different personalities. So, again, maximizing my impact and trying to understand how to bring magnitude to what I was doing. I needed to get people on board, but again, I wasn't their leader. I was just can't remember exactly the term of what it's called when you're not a leader by title, but you're a leader by influence. So being a leader by influence, like I had to figure out how am I going to communicate with people who don't care that we have another offering or whatever I was trying to push at the time in that project. They don't necessarily care that there's something else that they have to do because the last thing somebody else wants is another thing on their to-do list. So figuring out how to get the right messaging to get people involved and understanding that what works for talking to somebody in finance is not going to work to talk to somebody who's in sales. Getting the communication right, getting the messaging right, and communicating something that came to me as I learned how to lead others and to support people. The other piece is something that I probably innately always had was the confidence to keep going, even when I have no idea what is behind those storm clouds, even though I have no idea what the end result is going to be. I really tried to figure out what does it look like to just keep going and keep trying, because so many people get caught up when they fail that first time of, oh, I just can't continue. It's all me. Everything's wrong. No, of course not. It's an opportunity to learn, to grow, and to keep going further and further past this fake limit you put in front of yourself. You are the only one limiting yourself in that moment. So having the confidence to say, wow, that was something we'll never do again, but we'll learn even more from it the next time that we do it. So I guess that transitions into what is something not to do, which Nick said. Oh, let's see, let's see. What I would say is something that I'm picking up on over time is that a lot of leaders are leading by the influence of, because I said so. This is how it is. This is what has to be done. So anytime you come across a leader who is very rigid in telling you how it is rather than showing you how it is, that's not a leader that you probably want to get behind. You want to get behind the leader that's going to show you, here's how we could do it. Or I don't actually know, but I'll connect you with somebody who knows how to do this. That's the kind of leader you want to get behind, which, hey, now we got a bonus question thrown in there.
I love it. I love the fact that you mentioned that at the end, because a lot of people, when they have no experience in leadership, they are first manager. And we talk a lot, Will and I, on this platform about the difference between being a manager and a leader. And I think it's very humbling, and it shows a lot from a person who is a leader to be okay, not have all the answers, but looking for the answer for your team or for your peers. So I love that you mentioned connecting manager, and also like telling by asking instead of telling by telling. So I love that you are picking up on those things, and all the points you made. I'm not surprised that you are so successful in your current position as well.
Thank you both.
So when you think about cultivating that persistence, like obviously you have a very healthy approach to learning, and it's not about the mistakes, it's about the learning. But naturally there's environments where it's not that open and forgiving, or like we call psychological safety. So like if you've been in an environment where there hasn't been that level of psychological safety, what are some things that you do personally that help you persist and drive resilience? Like, are there personal practices you're doing? Is there yoga or meditation or mindfulness that you're doing? Or is it just more around the mindset, or a combination of things? Like, how do you get through those rough patches?
Yeah, good question indeed. But you were also leading me down a path of what happens when you just face that adversity that you can't get over. So another twofer. Let's see. Maybe I'll take both. The first the first one, which is how do I practice resilience, and how did I even get to where I am, having this mindset that I can accomplish things by trying, and if I can't, I'm learning something anyways. It really stems from my childhood, honestly. Of course, I nowadays do the things like meditation and yoga and taking care of my whole health, but it wasn't always that way. So I'll peel back the onion a little bit on myself and just say, when I was growing up, I moved in middle school with my uncle who had Agent Orange sickness, and my family started taking care of him. And that caused a lot of strife in our family. It caused a lot of challenges, but also a lot of learnings. Right after that happened, I was in high school, and my grandmother, who we were taking care of, my mom was her caretaker, she passed away the year before I graduated. And then when I was older and in college, I was spending time, my husband and I, we eloped in Paris and had this beautiful ceremony, just the two of us. We came back home. 2 weeks later, my father-in-law passed away. So I have seen so many things that have given me perspective on life, and everybody should be able to relate to one of those stories, that perspective is what can change a bad situation into not a good one, but at least something you can move forward in and be able to see a light at the end of the tunnel. So seeing that challenge, nothing is as hard as that. And it gave me the perspective that there's no point complaining. What's that going to solve and who's that going to help? So I have to focus my mindset now, spending time there on what can I control? This is a moment in my life, but this is not my life. Keeping those kind of things in my peripheral, making sure that I try absolutely as hard as I can because that's what's in my control. But how people react to it, how it's perceived, all of those things aren't going to be in my control. So, really keeping that mindset. I would say as well, when it comes to my mindset, I'm a really creative person. You mentioned that I like process improvement, and it's because of the creativity that it gives me. One of the worst things for me is actually putting me in a box and saying, come to work every day, 9 to 5, and do these 10 things. That is just not really conducive for me of somebody who wants to innovate and grow and learn something new and help others around me. So my perspective is also how can I bring creativity into everything that I do? And that could be so simplistic, or that could be something absolutely huge that you want to change and you want to grow into. Behind me here, I have a little terrarium. And so you can imagine this plant here, the other one next to it, so many plants throughout my house. And I absolutely love nature and the connection that it gives me. So my final secret is the fact that if you connect with nature and you connect with things that are bigger than you take that big hike you didn't think you could, get perspective, go out there and realize that this is a tough moment. It's not a tough life.
Yeah, no, that's great perspective, and I
Absolutely.
think it puts a great point on it that it's just a temporary thing. And I think something else you mentioned, and obviously, it's, the different personal things that happen to build that level of grit and resilience. And I think people forget that sometimes things don't go smooth, and even as a leader, right? Like sometimes leaders try to make everything perfect for their teammates, but then sometimes they need to have those challenging situations because that's what's going to build grit and resilience. I rarely have seen anybody build grit and resilience when everything's come easy. Like it's just not reality.
Exactly right.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's fantastic. So, as you've done a lot of different things now already in your career, right? Went from client success and now into operations, then revenue operations. So, like, what are some things that you could share to people who don't know much about revenue operations, and you kind of touched on it a little bit, but how could you like tie that into our topic of today with persistence and resilience, and how you illuminate that for the organizations that you work with?
That's an amazing question. Thank you for that one. Oh, cool. Okay, so revenue operations is all about continuous improvement. And it's the same thing when you're persevering through something or you're using your resilience through something. So I would say they are all on that continuous improvement and trying to get better at things. So really, what I have been able to do is just when I'm working in any role in an organization, I really rarely have blinders on of like, this is what I'm supposed to do and this is why I'm here today. I don't really I just can't operate in that way of working. So when I approach work, as in an example would be in revenue operations, I'm having a call with the customer success team, which is just one client that I serve across the whole revenue life cycle. Everybody touches revenue. Customer support does, support engineers do, product marketing does. There's so many teams that impact the revenue life cycle. When I'd be in a meeting with customer success and they would say, man, I really can't work like this without having the data of what my client was doing to prepare for a QBR, as an example. My role in revenue operations would be to say, all right, tell me more about the problem we need to solve here. What exactly is the data that you're looking for and what will you do with the data when you have it? Take that back to my team of other RevOps practitioners. Some of those look like a revenue analyst, somebody who looks at trends and patterns and is able to say, hey, there's something special here, or, oh no, there's a red alert coming here. We should pay attention to that. Also, business analysts who look at it on a larger scale and says, how is this team impacting that team? And how does what we do here impact the long wind or the long tail of what we're trying to achieve? after all of our team is, giving opinions of what's important and how we should prioritize that work, it goes on to a RevOps roadmap, which lets us communicate back to the organization in a very transparent way. Here's the things that we can solve. But hey, by the way, if we put this on our plan of to-dos, we're going to have to take something off in order for it to happen. Constant give and take. Constantly figuring out, what's the most important thing to move the needle on and what's the most important thing to spend the time on. So, and that example, it's a continuous improvement to say now that the customers, if we agree to the project, we get it done, we say, now we were able to move the needle on QBRs. We now have more successful customers renewing in their L120, whatever it looks like, you want to make sure that you're thinking about the impact to the customer in revenue operations. But for me, it was even more so about the internal teams. So I'll spend a moment talking about that as well, because I really found a love for change management throughout my career. And I think that's something that set me apart from people as well, because I really care about what it means to change the work that you're doing, to ask somebody to do something differently. So many people just throw it out like, hey, we're doing this week. Well, next week we're doing this. That top-down communication just does not work. And we will see as the generations continue to enter the workforce, it will not work for new generations. We need to find a new way to lead, and we need to figure out how to communicate with people of all generations. I found through my experience, luckily for me, I had a really great experience working at a great organization, which taught me all about bottoms up change, and really had so many analysts who told me, this is what's helping companies drive forward comparing to the companies who are just doing tops down. And I see my role in revenue operations combining both of those things and change management all the way across the board of this is the company's 3-year plan. Well, this is the next week in customer success. So how do you blend those things together so that people feel bought in, part of the change, and understand why the change happens? I know I'm preaching to the choir with you guys on this one, but those are the most important things that you can do as a leader to make progress in an organization. There's absolutely nothing worse than just throwing something across the fence and hoping it sticks. The success rate of those things? Absolutely nothing. So changing the way you work, changing the way you lead to consider that different people want to be communicated with differently, all the way back to the beginning now. There's so many things you can do to just consider who is the person that you're working with, what's the change that you're trying to drive, and then honing in on that message and then being accountable to that message. I will say people go wrong in change management all the time by just saying, now we're done with it. It's over. We got 20% of what we were hoping for. No, that's not really a good way to look at it either, because guess what? You got to continuously change and evolve and get feedback as you keep going, because what you thought was working, sure, it's going to get you that 20%, but how do we unlock 40, 50, 60? You got to keep going. And that's really about the persistence and perseverance too. You see a roadblock, it's not really cement. It's probably quicksand. So just go around it, find another way. There's always a way forward. You just have to look for it.
Yeah, I agree. So I love everything you just mentioned. You mentioned a lot about communication, change management, transformation. Every big companies or every companies, literally, they need to find what's next first, and then everybody needs to follow through with it. But if you always wait, you always last, and if you always last, you will be last also in getting new customers or improving whatever you are trying to build or improve. So I totally agree with you. I have one last question on my hands, because when we have fun, time flies, and time flies. You mentioned earlier something that I love always hearing from entrepreneur and people with success like you. It's about mentorship. So you mentioned about the fact that you had a mentor in the past who helped you out with this. Can you help the audience understand your process in finding mentors? And also, I'm pretty sure you have more than one. So how are you finding your next one, and how are you actually looking into what's most important next for you?
Another fantastic question. I love that one. I have definitely had many mentors throughout my life, and I'll continue to have various mentors throughout my life. I am lucky in that I dealt with a lot of adversity growing up and that I had a lot of respect for the elderly. I know this is probably unusual, but my mom worked at a nursing home. So it was very common for me to just interact with the elderly and get their wisdom because guess what? Experience is wisdom, and you do learn things as you get older, and you do grow from learning from other people. So finding a mentor is a great way to take what they've bottled up into something you can use and learn from it in your own way. So I would say that you really should be looking for a mentor if you don't already have one. And here's how I would suggest that you go out and find one. I'm a big LinkedIner. And so if you are at a company that you feel like, it's not really going in the right direction, I'm not really happy with this type of leadership, go out to LinkedIn and go find companies that you admire. Go find people that are saying things that you relate to or you want to learn more about. And then guess what? Take the fear away. Type out your message and send it because that's going to put you forward compared to the people who are just waiting on the sidelines or sitting on the bench. Take that first leap of faith and then see how it rewards you because people want to help. And it's yeah, it's not a euphemism. People really want to help. They want to be there for you. They want to do something that they can to help others. So go find somebody at a company or go find somebody in a community that you follow. There's a community in just about every industry that you could possibly want these days. So go find the industry that you're in, the kind of job you want to be in, and then in that community, really, all this is what I have done previously. Even when I had a leader who I really enjoyed working with, I stayed after class. I spent 10 more minutes asking questions after that client call. Why did you ask those questions? What did you expect the client to say? Where were you trying to lead them to? Asking questions like in the moment is also a way of mentorship and is also a way to take advantage of the things that are around you. So I would say go out and find a community, go out and find somebody on LinkedIn, and people will want to help you and they will want to give back. So do those two things and don't be afraid to face somebody who maybe says, no, not right now. I don't have time for it. Okay, on to the next one. There's 100 more people who can help you. So don't be faced by that and just think, it's me. It's not you. You just got to keep going.
Thank you.
That's so
Fantastic.
true. Yeah, that is fantastic. So you touched on a lot of good things like Nick mentioned earlier. Prioritization was another one that you mentioned. And I think, one of the other things when you were talking about the project, and I think it's a lot of people do a project postmortem, but I think doing the premortem, like what do you think are roadblocks we could anticipate and do some of those scenario planning and that can help a lot too to drive efficiency and effectiveness. Is there any other tips and tricks as you've really honed your mastery with program and project management and operations that you think is probably underutilized by people in those roles that you would recommend that they consider?
Oh, I would say there's a marathoner who runs a 225. She is phenomenal. Her name is Philly Bowden out of the UK. She is huge on this mantra, love the grind. And I find that as a framework for using my frameworks. You were asking, are there any frameworks? No, the framework is use your frameworks, love the grind, do the hard stuff, put in the work, do the pre-mortem, the post-mortem, get to know the audience that you're speaking to, do the work, and it's going to be hard. There's going to be tough days, but those tough days become easier and easier as you go through them. So love the grind is my perspective there.
You probably remember I used to do the Monday mindset little outreaches. I'm still doing those. I got to send you the link of the video I sent out today to my team because it's exactly what you're talking about. And it's funny because you've touched on it now a few times during our chat today. And I'm like, is she still on my DL? Like, did she get check that out? But I'll forward it to you after this. I think you'll get a kick out of it, but it's just a short.
Absolutely.
Any question we didn't ask or anything you wanted to share with the audience that we didn't get to, but that you want to get to before we wrap up our chat today?
Yeah, I would close up with Stoicism. So, Stoicism is all about self mastery, and that really is right along the line of self improvement, growth mindset, and all the things we're talking about today. I found Stoicism maybe 2 years ago as a way to, get better 1% every single day. And now I'm subscribed to their daily newsletter. I also read the book, The Daily Stoic, on a daily basis to start the day with a good mindset and to get perspective on what the day may bring, how things may be changed. There's also a really good book that Ryan wrote called The Obstacle is the Way. And currently, as I'm, entering a new chapter and I'm going through some new things myself, I'm using The Obstacle is the Way to figure out the best way to navigate this. And Ryan says there's 3 things that it takes to persevere and see the obstacle as the actual advantage here. It's about having perception. We talked about that, getting perspective. We talked about taking the action, just doing it, like Nike says, of course. And then finally having, no pun intended, the willpower. You have to figure out how to just keep going and how to have conviction in what you want to do. So I've used Stoicism to help myself grow, help my teams grow. I think Stoicism is a great thing for people who today are looking for something that's maybe not as spiritual or religious, but something that will help you connect with the ways that the old Rome emperors led. How did they figure out how to make do and figure out the best way forward? They didn't know the things that we know today, but Stoicism helped them through, and it's still as relevant today as ever before.
That's so true. And this will please you, I think. So in my end of year reviews, I always include a link to Seneca's letter 13 on groundless fears. So there we go. Amie, I miss
All
you.
right. I know, right? I know.
No, it's been fantastic. Any other questions yet?
No, that was a really good chat, Amie. I'm very glad we did that, and I'm pretty sure the audience would love also your perspective, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people will have a lot of golden nuggets after this episode. So thank you so much for your time. I know you're busy as well, but you were able to spend 30 minutes with us today, and we wish you all the best, in the future endeavor.
Oh, yeah, I was just going to say, to contact Amie, we'll have her links to the information. You want to get in touch, if you want to have her as a mentor, if you want to explore different opportunities where she can help aid some different things with organizations, they'll all be that in there. And now we have a book recommendation we'll probably link in there as well. So on that one, that's a good book. It's been a while since I read that one, but that is a great one. Yeah.
Such great reminders. Thank you guys for having me on. This was so highly anticipated and it hit on every note. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Amie. Have a great rest of the day. Bye, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Well, there you have it, winners. I hope you really enjoyed and gleaned some useful nuggets from Amie. I certainly did. Just a fascinating person, brilliant, and, just somebody who is always, like she mentioned at the very beginning, a learner first. And you can see that with some of the different things that she talked about, including how to foster greater resilience and persistence. So thank you, Amie, for joining. Thank you, winners and listeners, for listening. Again, please remember to subscribe, share, and follow 2 for the Win on your favorite platform. And thanks again to nickmenard.com and the 1% Push for sponsoring today's episode. That'll do it for today. We'll see you on next Monday Mindset. Take care, winners.